Peux-tu me raconter ta première journée aux Children?
It was fun. I don't remember though.
What about your second day?
No, but it was fun.
I do remember my first patient as a medical student here in 1985. His first name was Jan. He had a septic arthritis of the knee. He was actually here on 6C1, and it really is kind of what tweaked my interest in infectious disease.
Today, can you tell us anything about today?
Today was fun.
Okay, Allie, you remember the first time you were in the hospital?
A little bit.
Yeah, you were little, maybe about 3, and you got a bad pneumonia, and you came into the hospital, and you had to be admitted, and you were on 6C2, and I stayed overnight with you. And did you know something else about when you were admitted? You actually became teaching material for the residents for many, many years. At least your x-ray did. You had a series of lung x-rays that went from not so bad to really bad to terrible, even though you were looking pretty good. So they used those x-rays to teach residents for many, many years to go.
My wife and I, in fact, one of the things we're sad about is that this hospital was really our first date in some ways.
I actually met my husband through the Children's, through my work at the Children's.
I was on the 4th floor in the library, and I didn't used to go there much because I had most of the information accessed on my computer up on the 11th floor at the time. But I happened to be there and I saw her and I said, wow, I'd really like to meet this girl. And I just didn't think it was gonna go over well to just walk up to somebody in the medical library and start, trying to pick her up. So, and besides, there were residents coming in and out. People know you, right? So.
Cupidon, je suis seul depuis toujours. Tu peux régler mon problème avec tes flèches d'amour. Cupidon.
She walked out of the door to get a drink of water, and I thought, okay, maybe I could do it outside the library.
My former manager, Bob Baker, is actually the one who set us up.
So I snuck out of the library, and I kind of saw that she went way down the hall on the 4th floor, so there was a phone there on the wall that has always been there for 50 years.
In 1985, I believe it was, the single manager of the respiratory service wanted to meet me to go on a conference to learn how to use high-frequency ventilation units.
So I picked it up, and I kind of made it seem like I was on a conversation, but I really wasn't talking to anybody. I was just holding the phone, waiting for her to come back. And as she came back, I just hung the phone up, and she had very Egyptian features, and I didn't know how to open the subject. And said, oh, by any chance, would you be Egyptian? And that was the beginning of our relationship. And of course, weeks later, she told me, you weren't speaking to anybody on the phone, were you? And I said, how did you know that? Yes, I was. She said, no, you weren't, because you didn't even say, okay, goodbye, I'll talk to you later or anything. You just simply hang up, and your lips weren't even moving the whole time.
The local rep for that equipment was also going, and that's exactly how I met him. We spent 10 days in Idaho together and came back, and the rest, as you say, is history.
When I was working as ombudsman, had my office down in the C wing, in the F wing here, and one of the girls that I knew from way back, she was just turning 18, so she was getting ready also to graduate to the adult world, and she needed a transplant. And when she finally was called to say, it's time, come in, she got a heart-lung transplant and survived a year after that. And I always remember that, thinking that year she had come back to see me on a few occasions, and I remember thinking, yes, she didn't live longer, but her last year she did so many of the things that she'd always wanted to do. And you can't help but feel good for that.
It was a night shift, and one of my friends who was a nurse was working, and she was in a side room, which is going to happen a lot actually with the new hospital, because we're all in our own rooms. But just to know that we're all thinking of each other, she had a patient who was pronounced brain dead, and they were very busy in the room, and she was alone, and I was just waiting until the parents left to make sure that I would go in and tell her, like, it's okay, I'm thinking of you, and just kind of Google image some funny images to show her, just to make her laugh.
I have one young woman who's actually come back to visit us a lot, and she had an injury where she had a cut on her neck, and then it progressed into a really big infection, and we really thought that she wasn't going to survive. And I think one of the happiest things for me was for her to walk in looking fantastic, telling us that she was back in school, back in CEGEP, and yeah, from time to time you think you've seen a miracle, and I think it with her, I think it was, it truly was.
On va l'appeler Constance. Notre amie Constance, c'était une petite fille qui était très malade, mais à un moment donné, elle a pu sortir de l'hôpital. Il y a eu un festival de mode sur la rue McGill. C'est un festival qui revient chaque été. Et j'ai eu envie, j'ai eu un rêve, j'ai vu Constance à ce festival-là. Alors j'ai demandé au médecin si c'était possible de sortir avec elle. Et on a eu la permission qu'elle puisse sortir, elle se sentait assez bien. Elle est venue à la parade de mode, on a eu des billets VIP. Et elle a réalisé le rêve de rencontrer des mannequins, de les voir se maquiller. Puis elle a vraiment jasé avec eux, avec elle. Et ça a été une rencontre, je pense, pour elle vraiment intéressante. Puis elle a réalisé un rêve. Alors c'est un peu la beauté de ce qu'on vit ici à l'Hôpital de Montréal pour enfants.
J'étais au poste et j'ai entendu de la musique. C'était vraiment, vraiment beau, que ça venait d'une chambre. C'est moi, c'est la chambre de mon patient. Alors je suis allée voir. Puis Kent Nagano, qui dirige l'orchestre symphonique, était là avec le violoniste. Puis ils interprétaient des chansons de Noël pour les enfants. Puis c'était vraiment, vraiment beau. Les parents avaient beaucoup apprécié. Puis les enfants étaient tous fascinés.
C'est plus un adolescent auquel je pense. Un adolescent qui, à cause d'une maladie très sérieuse, a perdu la possibilité même de respirer. Donc, du contrôle de tous ses muscles. Il vivait beaucoup de colère, évidemment. Donc, les premiers temps, c'était pour l'accompagner dans cet espace-là où il ne pouvait rien faire. Quand il a commencé à pouvoir même bouger ses bras, il s'est mis à écrire. Donc, on a écrit des chansons. Et pour lui, qui ne pouvait même plus parler, c'était très puissant. Et il a vraiment fait une expression extraordinaire et très puissante à travers son écriture que j'ai mis en musique. Et à ce moment-là, vu qu'il n'y avait pas encore sa parole, c'est moi qui chantais. Et ça, c'était tout un challenge en soi. C'était vraiment particulier. D'ailleurs, ça faisait rigoler les infirmières qui passaient à côté parce que le texte était très puissant.
So there was a day where we had a patient that went to the Christmas parade, and it was his birthday, and it was one of the first times he was leaving, getting out of the hospital. And so he had a single room, and we wanted to decorate his room for his birthday when he comes back. And he was 14 at the time. And so me and another nurse, we walk in. I'm not a decorator. She's not a decorator. We're trying to make it look pretty. It's not working. Not very good at this. So we get all the other nurses in the room, and we start decorating with hospital stuff. So we started to tape the entire room with tape, barre en barre, là, there. We put alcohol swabs, we put green swabs, we put diapers, and it was hanging all over the place. And so we had to limbo out of the room. You couldn't even get in the room. It was completely taped from side to side. And then he came back and he saw that. Unfortunately, he was with his friends, so he had to stay cool and be like, oh, you guys are really stupid, blah, 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 blah. But we had a good time.
One of the great clinicians of the children's passed away last week. I don't know if you had anything about him. His name is Dr. Mel Wise. And I remember him as one of my great mentors when I first arrived here from Chicago. And I was going to see Mel for another reason, a medical question. And he said, sit down, let's talk for a little bit. And although everyone remembers him as a trainer, a great leader in our respirology program, he was also a general pediatrician. He said, sit down. and he took out a crayon drawing from under his blotter that showed a picture clearly drawn by a child of lots of little skyscrapers. In fact, I later learned this was on Côte de Neige. And they were all black, except in one picture, in one of the black buildings, there was a little yellow rectangle. So I started to get an idea about where he was going with this, as I was just starting a family. And he said, this is a picture my daughter drew for me. And when I asked her what it was, she said, these are all the doctor's offices on Côte de Neige, and all the daddies have gone home, except this little rectangle, that's your office. And then Mel said to me, don't make the same mistake. And that was a lesson for life.
One time I remember being a nurse, a staff nurse, on a floor, and at night I had an Inuit little baby. Actually, no, she wasn't. She was about 18 months. And she just wanted someone to hold her all the time because they're so used to be carried all over the place. And all night I was in the room. She was in a 3-bedded room, waking up every single other child in the room. And I just didn't know what to do. And I had other patients and things like that. So I took an IV pole. I put in an isolation gown. It was Halloween, so I put a pumpkin as a head and rolled it into the room. And since the room was dark, I talked to her. And once she settled down, after that I stepped away and left that mannequin there, and she slept for the whole night.
Can you tell us about a fun thing that happened today?
Oh yeah, one time,
Yeah.
the maintenance people from this hospital, they took out like a whole cabinet, and then it was really nice wood that dated from the origins of this hospital, and they gave it to me, but it's a secret. I'm not supposed to tell anyone because they had to keep it. But I have it, and I made a table with it, and it's super nice. And
Hello. Do you know the meaning of the word secret?
don't tell anyone.
Over the years, there have been many different residents that have worked on our floor. And many years ago, there was one, I won't say from what service, but he came in the middle of the night. He was very concerned because his cat had an upper respiratory tract infection. And he was looking for some medication, some Ventolin or something that he could give to his cat. So we reminded him that no, it was a pediatric hospital and not a veterinarian. But we've had a lot of very interesting residents over the years.
Ils nous achètent des pizzas quand ils doivent se faire pardonner. Ça, c'est un truc qui est très sympa. Ils savent qu'ils n'ont pas été trop présents, ou en tout cas on a eu du mal à les rejoindre. Des fois le lendemain ils arrivent avec quelque chose à manger pour nous, les infirmières et le staff. Donc c'est cool.
Certains de nos infirmiers, puis il y avait une infirmière auxiliaire aussi qui avait fait des dessins pour quand les enfants se réveillaient, pour que ça soit moins difficile pour eux autres. Puis une des choses que les parents me disent qui va leur manquer, c'est la terrasse au 8e. Ça leur donne un petit répit quand ils peuvent aller là, ils peuvent s'asseoir, ils peuvent décompresser un peu.
J'ai fait ma résidence ici avant de commencer à travailler, donc ça fait 11 ans que je suis à l'hôpital quotidiennement. Une chose que je me rappelle, quelque chose qu'on fait plus maintenant, il y avait un balcon dans l'aile F où est-ce qu'on faisait des pizzas and beer, donc on sortait à travers l'ange des résidents, puis on ouvrait les portes, puis on était tous dehors, puis il y avait de la pizza qui était commandée, je sais pas exactement par qui, là, et puis on mangeait ça, des patrons, des résidents, c'était souvent le vendredi, tout ça en fin de journée.
C'était vraiment le Tiny Tim Coffee Shop. Ça, c'était le centre vraiment que tout le monde allait là. On avait des journées vraiment stressed out. On allait là, puis on voyait un de nos collègues, 2-3 minutes talk, puis c'était correct.
But the funniest part came afterwards. So I had left the room pretty dark, and one of my colleagues walked in to take care of the other baby, saw that and couldn't figure out what it was. She started screaming that someone was in the thing. She's running down the hallway screaming, "There's an invader, there's an invader."
One of my best memories of working with children was working on the 7th floor on 7C2. I was cleaning a room, mopping the floor, and a child threw his jello onto the floor. As I bent down to pick up the jello, I put my hand on his bed, and he shoved the fork into my hand. And I laughed, and the child thought it was quite funny.
there's optimism that diabetes will be cured in the lifetime of my patients. And that's what I tell my patients after I'm sure that they and their family have accepted the disease. I say, so this is not a lifelong sentence. At some point during your lifetime, your child's lifetime, we will find a cure. So I had this 10-year-old who turns around and looks at this 60-year-old me and says, okay, doctor, if you say that diabetes will be cured in my lifetime, I believe you. What I want to know is, will it be cured in your lifetime?
Yeah, now what we'll do is we'll switch it.
Yeah. Now I'm telling the story. Now I have the microphone.
One evening I was working up on 61, and there's a patient that had to move to 8D, and she had left her little slipper inside the room, and so I went and picked up the slipper, found where the patient had gone, and I went up, and it was kind of like I was her Prince Charming, bringing her slipper back. So I think that's really a nice story that I'm going to keep forever in my heart.
When I graduated high school, I thought that it would be interesting to start to do some volunteering. So I signed up to do some volunteering at the Children's, and I was walking through the halls, and we were bringing patients to the terrace program, and I walked by the nursing station. I said, you know what, I think I could be a nurse. This is a place where I think that I could really enjoy working. So sure enough, a couple years later, I went to nursing school, and eventually I reapplied, and it was just my dream come true to come work at the Children's.
I've been here 17 years. I started in the OR, worked on 9C, worked on 8D, worked in medical records. I'm now in patient accounts, but I think my favorite place had to be 9C, working with the newborn babies. Because when the nurses were busy, they'd say to me, Susan, would you mind rocking this baby? Which, of course, who wouldn't mind rocking a newborn little infant, you know? So for me, I think that's my fondest memories up there.
J'ai découvert plusieurs talents que j'avais pas. J'ai déjà eu la chance d'être déguisée en tongue depressor, en thermomètre, quand j'étais child light, organiser des soirées de films pour les familles, puis que le film, j'arrive, puis on n'avait pas débarré le boîtier du film, puis que les parents partent à rire, puis qu'une mère parte à pleurer après pour me dire, mon Dieu, elle dit, merci, tu m'as fait rire. Elle dit, c'est la première fois que je ris de mon cœur depuis que j'ai su que mon fils avait un diagnostic de cancer.
And I was with some staff and a resident who's not here anymore, but a senior resident seeing a patient. It was a male resident, and there was a team of female physicians, female med students, a big team coming to see a little girl, a 6-year-old girl. And we were asking how she's doing, how her night was, and if there's anything we can do for her today. And all she wanted was for the senior resident to do a ballet move and a ballet twirl. And it wasn't enough that I did the twirl and that the female staff did a twirl and the whole team. She had to have this one senior resident do the twirl, and it made her smile to have him do it, and I thought that was very nice.
And so he did the twirl?
Yes, of course.
On a fait une demande à tous les employés à l'hôpital qui avaient des talents et tout pour aller sur le stage, là. OK, puis démontrer leurs talents et tout. Puis on avait des juges, puis s'ils sont assez bons, ben ils peuvent continuer. S'ils sont pas assez bons, ben on fait un gong.
I was part of a group contest with Jack Strulovich, who people who are listening to this will know Jack Strulovich, and he was a great fan of Halloween himself. So I was part of a group costume. Jack was dressed up as, oh gosh, what's that guy's name? That exercise guru with the curly hair. Richard Simmons. And he had a exercise tape called Rocking to the Oldies. And Jack made it Rocking with the Oldies. So Jack was Richard Simmons. So he had on, you know, knee socks and shorts and a singlet. And then 3 of us who worked in psychiatry at the time did ourselves up as old women. Today I wouldn't have to do that. I would look the part perfectly.
Le plus gros événement sûrement qui s'est passé dans ma carrière ici, ça fait 12 ans et demi, ce serait peut-être la tuerie, la fusillade du collège Dawson. Les étudiants de Dawson et la population du centre-ville en tant que tel se sont réfugiés dans notre établissement. On a su leur donner le soutien Et c'est après cet événement-là qu'on a vraiment su comment était importante la communauté du Children, le support que moi j'ai eu des travailleurs sociaux, même des préposés de l'entretien ménager, des corps, des soins infirmiers et infirmières qui nous ont supportés à vraiment encadrer cet événement-là du début jusqu'à la fin et quelques jours après aussi. Et ça m'a vraiment démontré une structure du Children qu'on trouve pas ça ailleurs. C'est l'esprit d'équipe, comment on se tient la main, on s'encourage.
I think I will miss the small community. Everybody knowing your name. When you pass in the corridor, everybody says hello, and they know who you are. They know where you sit. I will miss that.
C'est un peu avec un peu de nostalgie que je m'en vais parce que c'est 30 ans de mon histoire, fait que ça va être différent. Ouais.
Thank you to the Children's for having taken care of me. I'm getting emotional. I'm sorry. I was a patient here. My son was a patient here, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Thank you. That's it.
Quand je rentre ici, j'ai encore un sentiment de me sentir chez nous. Je suis contente de revenir, puis ça, c'est important, puis je suis contente que ça reste encore, puis j'ai hâte de continuer dans le nouvel édifice. Alors, comme on dirait, il y en a qui ont le CH tatoué sur le cœur. Moi, j'ai le MCH tatoué sur le cœur.
Really, I guess I'll miss the view from the Children's, but we get a new view at the Glen, and I think we'll figure it out. In a year, we'll be thinking it wasn't so bad to move.
Goodbye, children. See you at the Glen. It's been great. It's been amazing.
Yay!
Okay.
Yay! Bye!
Bye.
Let me love you. Let